What if it rained food? What if Earth was a cube? What if we had 9 lives? What if bits could fly? It's absurd. If money grew on trees, if we didn't have knees, if we walked through life slightly magnetical, it's absurd. Absurd Hypotheticals.
Hello everybody and welcome to Absurd Hypotheticals, the show we overthink dumb questions so you don't have to. I'm your host Marcus Lehner, and I'm joined here today by Chris Yee and Ben Storms. Say hi, guys.
Hey, I'm Chris.
Hey, I'm Ben.
So I try not to use this podcast as a platform to complain, but something just real stupid happened in my kitchen today.
You complain very often on this podcast.
You
what are
frequently,
you talking about?
you complain a lot.
Yeah, I don't try to do it, though, is the thing. It just happens naturally.
We actually complain about it sometimes, ironically.
So today when I came home, my kitchen was very dark. And it turns out what happened was that...
Someone turn off the light.
Mystery solved.
We have a ceiling fan in our kitchen, and Sarah pulled the middle string for the light, and it may be the first time that this string has been pulled because it immediately came out of the middle.
Oh
no.
And so now there is no drawstring anymore, not even like part of one. The whole string has come out. And the problem is, it's off, it's in the off position. So... Not only can I not switch it, it's also just always off. So basically, it's like all the lights are broken.
Oh, well then.
And I've already taken it apart one time to look inside and try to fiddle with the mechanism. And I got close. I swear I got close to fixing it, but I have not. I need to open it up again and then rewire it, I guess. I don't even know if I know where the breakers are in my apartment, or if I have breakers that I can shut off my own kitchen with. It's going to be an adventure.
Ben, you're an electrical engineer, right?
Well, okay, that doesn't let me know if he has breakers that he can get to. I'd imagine you do, though.
You know electric stuff.
I actually had to go to our breakers earlier this week because, I continue to have heat issues in my apartment. So my landlady brought over a couple of electric heaters just for when the heat inevitably goes out. Like it actually just did today. Fun fact. And I found out that I cannot run the heater and our microwave at the same time on the same breaker. So, good to know.
That is a fun fact.
Yeah. One or the other. Only one thing can be hot, me or my food.
Actually, I take it back. I did solve my my problem a little bit. So I actually went to the lamp in my living room, like one of those IKEA stand lamps.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took that lamp and then unplugged it so that would be, be safe. And then I brought it into my kitchen and just turned it on in there to solve my problem, to fix my fan. So clearly I'm not an electrical engineer, which is really going to make this next thing that we're doing pretty difficult for me personally, because our question this week is, how would you steal the Mona Lisa?
We did this once with the Declaration of Independence.
Do you remember which one of us had the best plan? Objectively,
mine was a sleepover. I think
mine
Ben's was
make them
National
make
Treasure.
National Treasure 3, which is actually happening now.
Is that happening?
So way to follow up.
He's the only one that followed up.
I think mine involved the president.
It involved the president. I think it involved them declaring a national emergency so that they could move it.
Oh yeah, I was gonna impersonate the mayor and declare a national emergency was my plan. That wasn't a good plan.
I think there was a helicopter involved.
There was definitely a helicopter involved. I don't remember why.
I think Michael Bay was directing my answer. All right, so how would you steal the Mona Lisa? So first of all, we are not the first ones who are going to steal it. Vincenzo Peruggia, if I pronounce that correctly. If I didn't, it's not getting any better, so strap in.
He's already practiced before the show.
I asked you guys if I was pronouncing it correctly, and you agreed with me, which I realize is not a very good measure of whether that's the correct pronunciation.
I would say that more than agreeing, we said sure, which isn't really full agreement.
Anyhow, we're going back in time. Well, back to 1911. So that was when he committed his good crime. So rather than reinvent the wheel, let's see if we can just do what he did. So first of all, Vincenzo picked his timing well. He was there at a convenient time. So the Louvre, which is where the Mona Lisa is typically displayed, was closed for the day because they were taking pictures of all the artwork. This was a bit of a process in 1911 because the cameras didn't really work well indoors. So to take pictures of all the art, they were bringing them up to the rooftop where the lighting was better to take pictures of them. So they had closed the whole museum so they could just like take the pictures off the walls, bring them up to the roof, take pictures of them, and bring them back. So they're doing this process.
I mean, I don't know what the Louvre looks like back then, but isn't the roof just a glass thing?
So there's a glass pyramid, I think, in the courtyard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, maybe it was different in 1911. They'd done a whole bunch of renovations.
I wouldn't be surprised if the glass pyramid was not there yet. It seems like a more recent... I don't know why I would assume that, but I just feel like that's not something they had in, like, the early 20th century.
They had glass back then.
Well, okay, but okay, fine. Yeah, all right. Point.
So let's see how one of the most famous thieves works. So Vincenzo, he dressed up in the white smock that the museum creators typically wore, like if you know that like that puffy, like very thin fabricy white thing, you know, that so you don't get, I don't know, like armpit dust on the museum on the museum
very
things.
Important to avoid that. Yeah.
I don't know exactly why you would need that. It's not like it's like the paintings are hazardous, but they wear them. So he dressed up in that white smock, and because like there's all these, you know, construction people and all these museum curators all around, he simply walked in the side door. So he was in. But now what? Well, what happened next was that Vincenzo walked up to the painting on the wall, took it off the hooks, walked out a back staircase with it, theft complete. There was no
one questioned him.
No questions, no further planning, no further anything. So you may be thinking, wow, with a plan that shitty, he clearly got caught right away, right? Nope. In fact, the theft remained undetected for 28 hours. It's worth noting here that part of the reason this was not detected for so long is that while the painting was, you know, famous enough to be in a museum, it wasn't like it is today, where it's like the Mona Lisa is the famous painting. It wasn't even like the most popular painting, like in its own gallery, like never mind the museum. And it was actually the theft itself that brought it into the mainstream. Like it was the excitement around this theft, this very clearly well planned out theft, this elaborate heist that brought it into the mainstream.
So those thieves should be getting royalties.
Yeah, so 28 hours went by, and even that was kind of lucky on their part, because the reason anyone even noticed it in the first place was that there was a still life artist who in this time was painting that gallery, and he was complaining that he couldn't continue his painting until they brought the Mona Lisa back from the rooftop in his photographs. And then they went to the rooftop guys and like, hey, can we get the Mona Lisa back? Or how long is it going to be? And they're like, we don't have it. And then they're like, oh shit, it's gone.
I like the idea that guy was painting the gallery and they used that painting to catch the guy because he painted him.
Right, yeah, he was like in the corner.
Yeah.
So soon after that, the police tracked Vincenzo down to his apartment where they began to question him. And then immediately accepted his alibi that he had been working somewhere else that day.
Good alibi.
He's like, nope, I was working somewhere else. And the police were like, okay, no problem.
I really wish the cops would just accept I wasn't there as an alibi.
Yeah, exactly. I was working somewhere else that day. And they're like, okay, bye. After that, Vincenzo kept the painting hidden in a trunk in his apartment for 2 years before trying to return it to Italy. So his whole motivation for the theft in the first place was like, man, France has the Mona Lisa painting, which was done by Leonardo da Vinci, Italian artist. I think it should be in Italy. He was got to be the only person on this goddamn crusade, but he committed. And so when he brought it back to Italy, he tried to return it to an Italian museum, and the museum owner he tried to turn it into just turned him in. So I don't think we can just copy what he did. That one's not really going to work. Because now there's a lot more than a couple of hooks on the wall holding onto the Mona Lisa. You know, it's behind a bulletproof plexiglass and constant security. There's like this little wooden barrier around it. So like you can't even like get that close, you know, without like someone starting to question like what you're doing there. And some sources, and by sources I mean random articles that are on the internet and didn't really fact check, say there's even a secret door from which security guards can appear if they see something suspicious on the security cameras. So maybe there's a secret door where guards can pop out of. I don't know, but I'd like to imagine that's true.
In all locations, I imagine that's true, personally.
Yeah, right? So I think we've talked about this in the past, but these heists end up being a bit tricky to plan because it turns out they don't really readily hand out all the details and nuances of the security system protecting the most famous painting in the world.
For some reason.
Why?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of taking a page out of Vincenzo's book, and I think it's a good idea to start with like, hey, when is the museum not on its regular game? And the painting might be more exposed than its like high-tech, you know, pressure-sensitive, bulletproof glass, you know, can't get near its security. And so my first thought was kind of nab it in transit. And for me, I started here, but the problem is they actually just moved the painting like a few months back because they renovated the gallery that it was in. They like moved it like a little bit and put it back, but that was like a few months ago. So, and it had been like a decade and a half prior to that. So I'm not really going to wait around for them to move it again, because then I'm going to have to, my plan's going to be quite a whiles into the future. Plus, what my plan for what to do once it was transiting was, I found it kind of funny with that they sometimes do practice runs for paintings in museums when they move them around the museum. So like they'll literally cut out a piece of plywood in the shape and about approximate weight of the painting, and then kind of do the route to where it's going to make sure it can like get around corners and that they're used to carrying it and all that. And so I want to do some kind of magic trick to swap the plywood fake with the real painting. But despite quite a bit of Googling, I could not find out how to make something that particular size disappear. So if you Google like making stuff disappear for magic, it's all sleight of hand. It's like cards and pens and, coins and all that. And then I was like, okay, how do I make big things disappear? And the only thing that comes up is when David Copperfield made the Statue of Liberty disappear in New York City on a big show of his. So then I was like, well, what if you just make like a box disappear? And then it was all about making stuff disappear in boxes. And so I was like, you know what? I'm not waiting a decade. I can't find how to do a magic trick either, because apparently that information is also not readily available online. So I was looking for another scenario where the painting might be more exposed, and I have what I'm going to call now my real plan. So the Louvre is an art museum, which means they're basically down to clown with whatever ridiculous thing people come up with. And I have found the perfect nonsense to stage a heist. Absolute perfect nonsense. So basically you just have to run back what they did back in October of 2009, where the Louvre hosted an event titled Babysitting Petit Louis, which was created by Robin Orlin. So this event is an after-hours live actor performance that's effectively the weird French version of Night at the Museum. And it's performed by a cast of 3 dancers, a singer, an actor, and 8 of the museum's real-life security guards. Some of the performance as part of this, just to explain how buck wild this is, some of the performers include a lost white South African in Eiffel Tower boxer shorts and an I Love Paris t-shirt, a black singer dressed in a gaudy gold parody of Louis XIV's courtly outfits, and a headless ghost in a black suit and some masquerades. This is things you're going to encounter on this Babysitting Petit Louis tour.
So this is like an immersive experience type of thing in the museum?
Right. So it kind of starts off, the guards are kind of leading you through the museum, and they kind of do Night of the Museum-esque things. And I think there's like leftover tourists and things that are like some of these actors. I didn't get a lot of info on it because most of the stuff about this event is in French. Google Translate does help. Actually, it was surprisingly good on some of them, but some of them it was less helpful. But let's focus on the guards' involvement. So the guards are the ones that lead the group around, which is not ideal for our scenario. But they're also part of the show. They make jokes. They take part in some dance scenes. And apparently they also project short art films about themselves onto the pedestals of statues, which I don't know what that's gonna be. Like the short art film about me, the security guard? Like, is it them personally or just like them as security guards in a whole? I have so many questions. Not the least of which is the whole thing that the Petit Louis himself, the titular character of this narrative, apparently is a statue of the Sun King that cries like a baby until the guards go and calm it down. That's apparently the payoff of this of this tour.
Where did you say this was again?
At the Louvre.
Oh, they actually do this at the Louvre.
They do this at the Louvre after hours.
Was this a one-time thing, or have they not realized what a bad idea it is yet?
This was a one-time thing.
Okay.
But I haven't even gotten to the best part about why this is so perfect for our plan. I quote from this article I read. The show culminates in a delirious minuet during which the professional performers swap their golden carnival outfits for the security guards' uniforms and name badges. At the end of the show, the performers swap their shit for the security guards' uniforms and name badges. And I can't imagine they made fake name badges for the show. Like, I imagine it's just easier for them to be like, yeah, here's my uniform, I don't care. We'll grab it for you in a second. And, like, talking about planning a heist here, there's not really much to plan. You're now dressed as a security guard in the Louvre. You can just, Like, even if you're with the tour group, you can just pretend that you're going to the Mona Lisa as part of the show and just, like, steal it in plain sight and be like, haha, we have it! And then just, like, pretend it's a fake one. But, the real icing on the cake of this is that the show starts off as a joking nod to the question that guards hate the most. They announce 3 questions that the audience is not allowed to ask during the performance. First one is, where's the bathroom? Where's the exit? And where is the Mona Lisa? So the people are literally not allowed to ask what happened to it. And with that, my perfect heist is complete.
You got it.
I got it.
Don't know if it's actually going to work, but okay.
It's a plan.
It is a plan.
All right, well, I don't know if your plan's going to work. Let's hear about your plan, Chris.
Yes, I have a very good plan. I've actually named my heist. I named it the B-roll heist. And it is a 6-step plan. So step 1, get a job at the Louvre. So actually, like, they actually have a very big problem with, like, understaffing at the Louvre. So they, like, every day they have 15,000 to 20,000 people that see the Mona Lisa every day. And on May 27th of 2019, so last year, they actually were forced to close the museum because they were understaffed and didn't have enough security staff. So they closed it. It was actually because the staff, like, went on strike. They're allowed to go on public strike, and they did that. I actually went to their website too, just to, like, look at what exhibits they had, and a notification popped up saying that due to strikes, it might be closed that day, or, like, certain parts of the museum might be closed. So I guess this is still sort of a problem. So given that, I think it'll actually be pretty easy to get a job at the Louvre as a common...
You should just apply.
Yeah, just apply.
just move to France and just do that.
Yeah. And I don't think for my plan, I don't think it really matters what job I get. The one thing that matters is that it's just I'm allowed to be there after closing hours, because I don't want to steal it during the day. There's too many people. So as long as I can be there at night, then my plan is set in motion. Now, the painting itself, the only security measure that I could find on it, because as Marcus mentioned, there wasn't a lot of information, but the one thing I did find is that it's behind bulletproof glass. And obviously that's pretty hard to get behind. Like, it's encased and there's a ton of people around and they don't really open it that often. So they actually do open it occasionally, mainly for like 2 reasons they open it. And one of the reasons is to relocate the painting. And as Marcus mentioned already, last summer they relocated it due to renovations of the room. And they just, like, moved it to the room next to it. So it wasn't that far of a location.
Yeah, it was like 150 feet, but they practiced.
Yeah, they practiced. And another thing I found out about the painting was that it's painted on poplar, like a poplar panel, so it's like a wooden panel. And they've been having a lot of warping and cracking issues with it. So what they did is they, like, reinforced it with these crossbeams, wooden crossbeams at first. And then those wooden crossbeams, they started to have, like, insects infested in them. And they're just, like, rotting the wood and stuff. So they had to change out I think they used oak at first. And they switched that out for maple. And then it happened again. They got more insects. So they switched it out and made it metal. But obviously this insect thing is a problem. And they had to, like, treat it with carbon tetrachloride and ethylene oxide to, like, kill the insects. But that's, like, one of the reasons they had to open the glasses, because they had to treat the wood. So I was like, what if I create that problem for them? I create a reason for them to have to open the case to relocate it.
Oh, instead of me where I just gave up.
Yeah. Instead of your case where you're like, I don't want to wait there for 14 years.
Oh, fuck, this sucks.
So I started looking into pests that are, like, poplar pests specifically. And I looked at certain, like, beetles and stuff, but then I realized I don't really want, like, actual pests of it, because I don't want to destroy the painting. Obviously, it'll lose value if that happens, and I want to sell it. So I started looking into bees instead. So bees apparently can be trained to detect odors. So...
What?
Yeah. So it's basically, like, they train them like they train any other... Like, they train a dog. So they make it do something, and then they reward it for doing that thing. And in
How do you reward a bee?
in the bee's case, they made it go to a certain smell, and then they rewarded it with like sugar water.
I like the idea that they eventually replace drug sniffing dogs at like the airport with bees, and then
Yeah.
if
Oh my
they smell
God.
coke, they just like sting the shit out of the person.
I mean, they do this at some places. I don't know exactly where they do this, but they do train bees to sniff out explosives, gunpowder, methamphetamine, uranium. They also can train them to detect diseases like tuberculosis and lung and skin cancer and diabetes.
And then sting those people with those diseases.
Yeah,
Just
I
end the
don't know.
problem right there.
Well, if you can attach medicine onto the stinger, then you can have
There we
you can
go.
have it's basically nanobots, except they're bees, and it's on like a citywide scale where you just fill Manhattan with like bees full of Dayquil, and then like if they smell that you have like the flu or something, they'll just come and give you a quick little shot of something. You're like, ow!
This
Oh, man,
this
that
sounds
is-
like the worst, because then you had the flu and also just got stung by a bee.
But your flu will be gone faster.
I mean, but I guess
guess.
I don't.
That is not my plan.
I mean, if once you're the sole owner of the bee like hospital that is, all major cities now, you're gonna be rolling enough money just to buy the thing outright. That's a good way to. Does that count as stealing?
I mean, speaking of hospitals, they can also confirm pregnancy. So,
What?
What?
yeah, I
Wait,
don't know.
Stop.
Just
who,
from
who
smelling
wrote
that.
this? Who wrote this? The bee
Bees.
fucking.
No, it was bees.
It was bees.
It was bees.
Bees wrote it.
Bees can't do any of these things, but they have learned how to write
Right.
articles on the internet.
Yeah, bees' greater skill is actually editing Wikipedia.
The bees aren't actually endangered. They've been producing all the science.
Right.
Protect the bees.
It's actually not that hard, or it doesn't take that long to train these bees. They can learn this this odor sniffing behavior in like 5 minutes. So
What?
Yeah.
Everything you're saying is more insane than the last thing.
I mean, bees don't really live that long, so
That's what they want us to think.
Yeah, but I also don't imagine bees are like pregnancy sniffing super dogs.
yeah, they smell good, and I'm gonna use this trait of bees to my advantage in my heist. I'm gonna train them to sniff out poplar because that's what the painting is on, and the bulletproof glass is regulated, like the temperature is regulated, so there's ventilation in it. So they do have, I don't know where it is exactly, but they do have holes in some way for the bees to get in. So the bees can get in there. So that's my step 2. I'm going to train bees. I'm going to release them in the Louvre, specifically in that room that the Mona Lisa is in. And they're going to seek out the Mona Lisa.
Okay.
And this is going to trigger the Louvre or like staff members to move the Mona Lisa. And I'm just going to let them move it. I'm not going to interfere with this. I'm just going to they're probably going to move it to that same room they moved it before. It really doesn't matter where they move it as long as it's not in the same room. And as Marcus mentioned, they do trial runs. So ideally, my job at the Louvre will be to do this trial run.
Like your only role, or
Sure.
perfect.
I
okay.
mean, I could do other stuff too. I'm sure that's...
Well, you need an expert. Like if you think about it, if you pay one guy a salary each year to move the important paintings, and then you save one priceless painting over his career, it's worth it. Dollars to dollars, you're on top.
I like the idea though that the Louvre is like, oh my god, we have so much trouble keeping all of these roles staffed. What will we ever do without the guy who's there to help us test run moving the Mona Lisa?
I mean, it probably isn't just the only thing he does.
It's probably not
but-
just that.
So, yeah, Marcus was thinking that during this trial run you'd take it, but I don't think you're going to take it because it's kind of hard, as Marcus mentioned, to make it disappear or to just take it and then everyone will see you take it. It's not really going to work that well. So I'm just going to do the normal trial run and then I'll move it to where they want me to move it. And that'll be that. So it'll be in a different room and the Mona Lisa case will be empty. And those are the important parts. That was step 3, is to move it. Step 4 is to leave the Mona Lisa there on display at its new location and let them solve the bee problem. So it's basically just do nothing and wait.
Is this a plan to steal the Mona Lisa, or this is a plan to get yourself a job and inconvenience the staff of the Louvre?
I mean, they probably pay pretty well. I don't know. It's the Louvre.
Probably they don't pay enough, or else there wouldn't be strikes.
Also true, but still, whatever. So step 5 is once they solve the bee problem, they're going to want to move it back to its original location. And they're going to do another trial run on the way back. So I'm going to be there and I'm going to be ready to do the trial run. And this is when I'm going to plan to take it. This is my time. This is like the pivotal moment of my heist. And I started to wonder, what would happen if, because like everything's hinging on this one moment, what happens if like the fire alarm goes off or something and completely ruins my plan? I got to come up with like contingency plan. So if the fire alarm goes off and everyone has to like leave the building, and then like when we come back, what if someone like already moved it back and it's just in its case? They're probably just gonna like tell me to get rid of the trial run thing, and then I'll tell me to go home and everything will be ruined.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Except that I will have already stolen it, because the Mona Lisa won't actually be in this case, but they think it will. Plot twist. This is a 2-man job. I had secret steps that I did not tell you.
You fooled us.
I fooled you. Classic heist movie trope thing.
He set us up with a 6-step plan, did 4 steps. It's like, you've already missed step 1 and 5, so
Yeah.
Here they are again.
You missed secret step 1.5.
Shocker, you're covered in bees.
Well, this is before I even released the bees. Twist. So I'm going to have a second man on my team, and he's going to be responsible for the first time they open the case, which is going to be, because it's made of poplar, and it has like swelling issues and stuff, they really have to monitor the humidity and the temperature. They have to keep it like exactly right. And to do this, they have monitors in the case. So they have like one sensor that's close to her right eye, Mona Lisa's right eye. And then they have another one that's close to her right hand, just to monitor the humidity. And what they do is every year they open the case to test this equipment. So my second man on my job is this guy that tests this equipment. And when he's testing it, he's gonna do his job. He's gonna test it. But in addition to that, he's gonna install a roll of paper on the top of the case, and the roll of paper is gonna have to unroll and be able to cover the entire height of the case, which is, I was looking at photos and it looked like it was around 7.5 feet high. So that's what it's gonna have to do. And I was wondering if this kind of roll of paper would be noticeable in the case, because like if you put like a roll of toilet paper or something, people are gonna notice it. So it's like, how big is this roll of paper if it only needs to be 7.5 feet tall? And I found this like weird, I don't know why this site exists, but there's a site that just calculates it for you. It tells you, or it asks you how long you want the paper to be and how
many plies it is.
well, how small you want the inner circle to be, like the roll itself to be.
I mean, it's a useful calculation for like a lot of industries that make rolled up things.
I guess that's true. So I said that the inner roll is a 1/4 inch thick, or 1/4 inch diameter, and with a standard paper, like the thickness of standard paper is 0.0039 inches thick. So with those dimensions, the roll of paper is only 0.7 inches. And I was looking at the frame, and the frame looks like it's at least an inch thick. So you can just hide it behind the frame and no one will really notice. And this is going to be like a remote controlled thing. So like,
you can activate, you can have it roll down when it needs to.
Yeah, exactly. So that is step 1.5, is installing that roll of paper. Secret step 3.5 is when I was moving the Mona Lisa in my first trial run, I installed this roll of paper into the inner frame of the Mona Lisa as well. So it's just like a smaller one. It doesn't have to be as big, but it's basically the same thing. Secret step 4.5 is that my accomplice is the one that pulled the fire alarm right when I was getting ready to move it my second time. And secret step 6 is when I was outside and everyone else was outside, I activated these rolls of paper and they unrolled, and the one in the case just unrolled against the wall and had a picture of the Mona Lisa on the wall. It's a flat image, so it's going to look a little different, but it's like recessed into the wall. I don't think people will notice that well. It's like blocked off too, so you can't really get close.
Yeah, art critics are really famous for their inattention to detail.
Yeah. Well, they open it like once a year.
I know it's like behind 3 inches of glass and it's 4 feet away.
Yeah. And then in the frame of the Mona Lisa, the actual Mona Lisa, that's going to unroll too, and it's going to look like a piece of wood. I actually don't know if they use a frame for the trial run, but I'm going to say they do, and that it's going to look like a trial run plywood thing now. So that's what the Mona Lisa looks like now. So when we go back into the building, people, they might think it's a little weird, but they're going to just assume that someone else had already moved the Mona Lisa and that we don't have to do it anymore. They're going to tell me to get rid of the trial run plywood thing, and I'm going to just carry it and walk out with it, and no one's going to question me because they're not going to think it's the Mona Lisa. And that is the B-roll heist.
Damn.
I see.
Intricate. That's how you make something big disappear, I guess. You take it.
Also, every time you went to a new step, I was like, but what if you just sicked bees on them at this point and just took and just ran out with the painting?
I was so convinced that when you were saying, what if something went wrong while you were outside or whatever, you were setting up just a plan B joke.
Oh.
But
could have done that, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, you already sort of had like the joke in there at the start. It doesn't matter. Regardless.
Yeah. This is the part of the podcast where we stop, review each other's answers, rewrite the podcast, and then re-record it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I edit, and then Chris edits this out and puts the fresh, new, better version on.
Right.
And that was my plan.
Like this one will be all the same except with the plan B one.
And that was my plan B.
Nailed it.
Got it.
All right.
All right.
Ben, what is your genius plan?
And do it good this time, Ben. Last time we did a dry run, it sucked.
Yeah,
so if you
I know.
just do this one good instead, that would be
This is my plan B.
No,
you can't take
steal mine.
You can't steal his
wait,
joke.
That's
That's
my
why we
heist.
had to start over already.
You heisted my heist.
So I've actually already on this podcast talked about how cool Leonardo da Vinci was back episode 21, actually. So like literally over a year ago.
What was that episode?
That was the what if you suddenly got sent back in time? And I basically just said I was going to go back in time and hang out with Da Vinci and then like prank the world. I don't know.
Right. I remember that.
Yeah. So yeah, Da Vinci, as we've established, is a very cool dude. And he did lots of cool stuff beyond just, painting, obviously. And most notably for my plan, he was an inventor. There's actually, in Milan, there's actually a science and technology museum named after him, which is the Museo Nazionale Scienza e Tecnologia Leonardo da Vinci, with my flawless Italian.
You somehow put all of your fake Italian in your nose and talked out from there.
That's where the Italian comes from, is the nose, actually.
Italian is the nose of languages.
Yeah, so included in this museum, one of the sections there, they have...
Which museum?
The Da Vinci one.
You can just run me by the name one more time.
I can't, actually. I literally can't. I had one of those in my nose and it has escaped.
I got it. It's in the tissue now. I have to get rid of it. It's gross.
With the power of editing, I could just stick it in there, but I'm not going to.
Oh, yes, that's right, Marcus.
Heist.
It's the...
Nope, not going to happen.
Damn it. Well, I tried. But they have a section that's just basically... It's just about him, and it's full of reproductions of his inventions that were made by, they had this group of experts who went through his notes and translated them, and when necessary, like, completed them if they were sort of not fully, working, and made all these reproductions of stuff. And, as Marcus mentioned, it was stolen by this guy back in the 1910s, who was this Italian nationalist who wanted to be back in Italy. And one thing he didn't mention is that, he got apprehended by Italian authorities. He only spent 6 months in jail. And just widely in Italy, people, loved him for the fact that he tried to do this. They put him in jail, but it was kind of like a, no hard feelings kind of thing, right?
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I got the opposite, I believe you, because I didn't read that. I didn't read into the after effects. But, the vibe I got was, he tried to sell it to the museum dude. The museum dude's like, nobody's on your crusade with you, buddy.
Well, no, so I think the museum dude was like, yeah, we can't do that. They did hold on to it for, 2 weeks and show it, apparently, which is hilarious, before they sent it back. But I think like generally like the general population of Italy was like, oh hell yeah, like go for it, dude.
What's like the modern equivalent of that?
Um
Like a dumb crime that everyone loves.
oh, there has to be one.
I can't think of any.
I can't think of one. There definitely has to be one though.
It's something. It's definitely a viral video of sorts.
I mean, you could argue that like Banksy, kind
Yeah,
of
that's
all the
true,
shit
I
Banksy
guess.
does.
Yeah.
That's kind of close because technically it's. I mean, at this point, it's really not because his art is all worth like $100,000, but
Right.
it was technically vandalism.
That is
People,
true.
yeah, I don't know.
I watched a video today of some people giving a chimpanzee an AK-47, and then the chimpanzee started shooting it, and I'm like, that's gotta be a crime, I think, and I enjoyed it. So maybe that's the one.
What? How did this come up?
A coworker shared it with me.
I see. Are you sure it was a real video?
Yeah.
I'm sure you weren't just watching Planet of the Apes.
No. Chimp gets AK-47. It comes up right away on the Google.
There's going to be a picture of Andy Serkis.
I refuse to admit this is real.
I don't know. There's a lot of Google results, so it's got to be true.
I have doubts. Anyway, you know what? Point being, this doesn't. Okay. Anyway, so what we see here is that at least 100 years ago, there was definitely, somewhat widespread support for bringing the Mona Lisa back to Italy, and this museum has a group of like scientists and engineers and whatnot who are all Da Vinci experts, who I'm sure would probably appreciate bringing this back to the museum. So I think we team up with them and we do a road show and take it to Paris of his inventions and use those to steal back his painting. So, what's the plan? Well, first off, we need a distraction. And for that distraction, we're going to use guns, because Da Vinci did some of those.
The chimpanzee with guns?
No chimpanzees.
Hey, by the way, I Googled it slightly more, and Googled it more than it's a link, and it is a viral advertising campaign for the new film Rise of the Planet of the Apes. So I got tricked by the viral
I was going to
Planet of the
say,
Apes.
I actually kind of remembered that.
Oh, yeah, now
existing.
I do actually kind of remember that.
How late to the party am I in this?
Pretty late, apparently.
It's a couple years old, that movie.
Well, no,
Wait,
Rise was
updated
like
3:41 EST, July 22nd. Why 2011? Who's sending? Why did my coworker show me this today? Like it was a new thing.
Oh, was it for the first Planet of the Apes?
I think it was the first. Yeah, it was.
For Rise of the Planet
for
of the Apes?
Rise. Yeah. So
Yeah, that was a while ago.
yeah, it's been a bit. It's been a minute.
How is this coming up now? I'm sorry. I'm just.
This is incredible.
Baffled by the by the world.
I mean, Reddit happens. Things just percolate for on the internet. People forget about them when they come back.
This is exactly the problem with not fact checking anything.
Well, yeah.
Because if it wasn't for the fact that I said it on the podcast, I would not have cared enough to actually fact check it.
Nope.
And re-interrupt our podcast to find out I was wrong, and then also wrong by like 10 years.
Yep.
Like 10 years wrong.
Good thing you didn't base your heist on it.
That would have been impressive.
Maybe Chris should fact check his bee facts.
Hey, that wasn't a video. That was on Wikipedia.
Which bees can edit. We already went over this. Anyway.
It's Wikipedia now.
Wikipedia. It's their world. We just live in it.
I'm sorry, but do you have an answer in here
It's
somewhere?
somewhere in there. Anyway, Da Vinci had two main guns that he made. So one was the triple barrel cannon, which is not. It's basically exactly as exciting as it sounds. It's really just a cannon with 3 barrels. Some of his inventions weren't actually that cool. Most of them were better than this. It was lightweight too. I don't know. You could move it around, and it had 3 barrels, so you could shoot it 3 times. That was kind of it. But it is a cannon, so it's a gun. So we got that. The cooler one, he made what is in some places called a machine gun. I'm going to slow the roll on that one a little bit.
So the B-roll?
No, we're not. Chris.
I just like interrupting your answer.
Everyone does. This was referred to as the 33 barreled organ, because the barrels on look kind of like organ pipes. And basically it was like these 3 rows of 11 barrels mounted on a rotating triangular prism. The idea being you could fire the first row. While you're firing that row, you could be loading the second row that you already fired could be cooling down, and the third row you could be reloading. So you could like,
So it's like
shoot the
an
top
assembly
row.
line sort of
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. It's not. I'm not going to call it a machine gun because it really is just once again a fancy multi-barreled cannon.
It's a gun machine.
Yes,
not a machine.
it is a
gun.
gun machine. We'll go with that.
It sounds cooler.
It does. It does sound cool. Yeah.
What happens if you give it to a monkey though?
Nothing. They can't. Marcus, we went over this.
I mean, the bees were pretty capable apparently. So can they use guns?
The bees could find
What if
it
we teamed
because
up
they
the
can
bees
smell
and the
gunpowder,
monkeys?
but they couldn't. They don't have. No, they couldn't. Just no animals can operate this machine. Okay, it's in his nose. I'm going to say that. I didn't fact check it. But so I think sort of the plan here is basically just like cause a big distraction. I think you're going to just shoot at the big triangle pyramid thing or glass pyramid thing because that's like a big distraction. I don't know. We'll go with that. That's fine.
I like this direct approach.
Yeah.
To the heist.
I figured you guys would be much more
direct and
subtle than
violent.
me. Yeah.
Walking guns blazing.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, and then we also, so I assume that at some point we're going to be, taking fire from much more advanced weapons. So we need something to draw the fire. So fortunately, Da Vinci made robots. Not like actual robots, but he called them robots or automatons or something. The more well-known one, I think, is it was basically just like a suit of armor that he made like a series of pulleys and cables in that let it like walk and walk, sit down, raise its visor, and wave. And people were actually able to, back in like 2002, reconstruct it from his plans, and it worked correctly, which is pretty amazing. Da Vinci was really cool.
Sounds like he's making a lot of things that he's calling things and you're disagreeing with.
Well, so I mean, he didn't necessarily call them these things. People have called them these things online.
Okay.
I don't entirely agree with it, but also it was like the 16th century, so cut him some slack. He did a pretty
Yeah.
good job, all things considered.
I think it's more the people reporting it have a flair for the dramatic.
That's a lot of it, yeah.
The amount of times I was reading something about the Mona Lisa being transported and people being like, she sat alone in the container for 3 weeks in the dark and damp. And it's like, it's a painting.
Right. He also made a mechanical lion. It was commissioned by Pope Leo X for King Francois I. Basically just to make him laugh by like walking out to him and putting flowers at his feet. And they actually reconstructed this one in 2019 and it also worked, which is pretty awesome. Finally, for like biggest distraction purposes, he also made a tank.
Okay.
It was
Bearing the
basically
lead a bit there.
It was basically like a round, like sort of domed tank with like light cannons on a circular platform, so they could like fire in any direction. The plates were like slanted to like deflect fire. It was going to be powered by 8 men inside of it who would turn cranks to spin the wheels. And apparently, I love this note. He suggested that he thought of using horses to power it, but he dismissed it because he feared the animals would become too unpredictable in the confines of the tank, which is kind of hilarious.
That if you have to die at war, that's the way to go.
Right. It did have a major flaw, though, in the plans, which was that the powering cranks went in the opposite direction, so it wouldn't actually move, which... So people actually... So this is one of those things where you're in a good spot, like, as a historical figure, and people think this. People think he actually did this intentionally, because he didn't want it to ever get made, because he, despite designing lots of weapons and shit, he was, at his heart, like, a pacifist. So he thought that he intentionally made it not work, so people wouldn't make it, or if they did make it, it wouldn't work.
Okay, here's my theory. Maybe the guy fucked up like one time by drawing a thing backwards. Like,
I think that's maybe more likely that at some point he flipped his gears literally, and well, I think that's probably more likely. But regardless, even if it doesn't actually work, it will certainly draw a lot of attention, which is what we need to actually get in and get the Mona Lisa. Now, full disclosure, don't actually have a plan to do that part. So
Your plan so far is to shoot the glass.
So, all right. Here's my rationale. I think the air's going to make a big enough distraction that someone can slip in and grab it. But I don't have enough information to actually say how that part goes. So I'm going to say you do that, and then I'm going to talk about getting it out. We're going to go with that.
all right,
So,
fair.
let's say you have the painting, that you have distracted all the guards, they are dealing with your army of weird walking suits of armor and lions and your tank that's just kind of spinning in a circle. how do you get it out? Well, Da Vinci also made flying machines. There's two sort of famous ones he made. There's the aerial screw, which is basically like a big screw-shaped wing that like the idea was like four men would stand on a platform and like rotate it to move the screw, which would cause the air to, move downwards and lift it.
Is that the one that kind of looks like a helicopter but definitely doesn't work?
It's the helicopter that totally doesn't work. That's the best way to explain it. Modern science has decided that, there's no way it would ever have worked. That one, non-starter. There was, at one point, someone made a flying machine, like, I don't remember when it was exactly, like a couple centuries later, with a steam engine, with the same design that did work, but with, like, manpower, it would never take off. It's just not going to happen. He also made an ornithopter, which was basically it was plane-like, or maybe glider-like, with big, almost bat wing-shaped wings, that flapped up and down for propulsion. And it could have flown when it was in the air, but probably could not have flown, like, it probably could not be human power to get off the ground. It could not get enough power that way to actually take off. Well, it might be able to sustain flight. So I'm going to say that we either launch one of those and start flapping, or just put some sort of engine on the aerial screw and do that one. We're probably going to do the aerial screw because I think that's a more like distinctive look.
For the flapping one, I'm just imagining the Wile E. Coyote thing.
It's pretty much that, but giant and also kind of a hang glider.
Okay.
Also, Ben, is distinctive look what you're going for at the end of a heist?
Yes, for important reasons we're going to get to right now, Marcus.
Okay.
So you get in your aerial screw, and you're flying away. And as we've discussed, these are not particularly great flying machines. So I don't think it's actually, even with your engine or whatever on it, it's not actually going to work all that well to get you out of there. So I think you make a big show of it not working as you're flying over the River Seine, which is conveniently right next to the Louvre. And as it collapses in midair and people jump out of it using parachutes designed by Leonardo da Vinci, he did a lot of things. The Mona Lisa, which you have already carefully put in a waterproof container, drops down into the river, where you have people in scuba gear, also designed by Leonardo da Vinci, waiting to grab it and get away with it.
Did Leonardo's scuba suit work?
This one actually does.
Okay.
It also incorporated a pouch for the diver to urinate in. He thought of everything. This one actually was basically like, it had a mask over your head, and then it had basically just had tubes going up to like a cork diving bell that floated to like let air in. So it wasn't like a literal contained tank. It was more of like a glorified snorkel. But you know what? It's going to work for our purposes.
Wait. Sorry, I'm going to rewind 1 second. It had a what to pee in?
A pouch. That's all the information I have. I can answer no more questions.
But like, what problem are you trying to solve by giving a diver a piss pouch?
Yeah, I couldn't figure that one out either, man. I really don't know.
Like, you're in water, just piss.
Right. I mean, he was an interesting man. He had lots of ideas. Not all of them were good. I told you about the cannon with 3 barrels, right? Like,
and this cannon has a pouch on it so you can take a whiz.
He actually incorporated that
into
into
pee while firing.
all of his inventions contained ways to let you urinate. Yeah, that was a very, very key component for him.
You'd be amazed how absorbent the Mona Lisa is.
Why do you think it's made out of wood?
So you've basically just elected to use worse technology that you could do. Everything in your heist could be done more efficiently if you just ditch this Da Vinci theme.
Well, yes, this is accurate. I do not have a way to refute this. However, hey, what about that would you rather?
All right. Ben, would you rather join a cult or start your own religion?
So, important question, where does the line between cult and religion end?
Yeah.
So here's the difference in this would you rather. Would you rather join a cult? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say cult as in a very clearly nonsensical, bonkers, crazy religion with a bunch of rituals and hoods, and if people found out you're in this cult, you'd be embarrassed by it.
So like anything Scientology or weirder?
Yeah, Scientology and weirder.
Okay.
And then start your own religion, you can do what you want, but you have to kind of commit to it.
Right. So it's...
You can't make you can't make a web page and just be like, oh yeah, bensgod.com and pretend and just be like, I did it. I created my religion. It's got 3 pages of religious text, which is just Ben written 486 times in size 13 font.
How did you find my old GeoCities page, Marcus?
Is it a given that people are going to follow your religion or not?
So you have to... It is not a given. Like I said, you have to put some effort into it.
Okay.
All right. So it's really...
Maybe you can't stop trying to make your religion until you get, like, 500 followers.
That sounds like a lot of work.
That's a lot of followers, actually. So I will say... So I don't know why I just thought of this, but it may not be that hard, because I do know there was a college where there was like there's like a bathroom that got like walled in and people found, and they made a shrine to Danny DeVito in it, and they got like constant offerings to it. So if you can make a shrine to Danny DeVito and on a college campus and get a decent amount of traction, you could probably get to 500 people relatively easily if you found something, niche enough.
All right. I mean, you have 500 like retweets effectively. You don't have 500 subscribers to Danny DeVito.
I guess that's fair. You're right.
Religion.
I mean, starting a religion is basically just writing fiction that people believe, right?
That's what.
Well, that's a loaded statement. But if you want to boil it down to that, sure.
So, like, J.R.R. Tolkien could be a religion.
I mean, isn't that literally how Scientology started?
Right. So I'm not saying you can't. Yeah. I'm not saying you can't do it.
It's just a lot more work. Yeah.
Like, would you rather be the person who has joined a cult? And let's say you have to go to the cult meetings. You can't just blow them off and be like, that's not a part of my life anymore. Mm-hmm. You gotta go to the cult meetings. Or would you rather be the person who's like started their own religion and like, not with everybody, but a lot of times you'd be like, hey, can I tell you the good vibes of the Ben religion, where we have
it's actually the religion Ben. I'm gonna go ahead and put that out there.
You said that a little too fast for my comfort.
You know what, guys? I've been meaning to talk about something. No. So really, it boils down to lazy and crazy, or having a very, very annoying hobby, right? That's really the sort of the dividing line here. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's just like, and here's the thing too: if you join a cult, you don't get to set the agenda. If you start your own religion, that is
a good point.
You're in control. Creative endeavor. Yeah. You're in charge if you make your own religion.
I think there are tax benefits too, right?
Oh yeah, not many for joining a cult, but I think there
certainly are for founding a religion,
especially if it gets big enough for the government to care about it and give you a tax break.
Starting to pile up towards religion the more we talk about this.
I don't like the idea that things are out of my hand. If I join the cult and I don't disagree with them, or if I disagree with them, then...
Well, to be fair, you picked the cult you joined, so you could find one you agree with.
I guess
you could. It's something that you could agree with.
But your definition is something that you're embarrassed
about. But your peers wouldn't.
Yeah.
Your peers might not. Like, I feel like part of a cult is that...
You get new peers.
Well, and things are taken a little bit too far. So yes, you would get new peers. This is true. A family even, if you will. But yeah, you definitely would probably ostracize some people you know now.
All right, Chris. Final answer. Cult or religion?
I think religion, because it lets me be more creative and it gives me more control.
Ben?
I might go cult, actually. I think I could find a cult I could get behind.
I'm torn. So my struggle is I'm on Chris's bandwagon where I'm like, given that I have to get involved in a cult or religion more in depth, I'd like to use it as a creative outlet. That said, I have so many gosh dang hobbies, and I don't think I can fit doing a religion into my day to day. I could maybe make a cult meeting. I can do the cult meetings. I cannot write the book, and I hate marketing. I don't want to solicit people. That is so against my nature to like. I guess the salesmanship of religion, where you have to like really like because even if I'm peddling, like even if I really believe in what I'm peddling as religion, I still feel like I would feel kind of like imposter syndrome-y, where it's, hey, I like the message of what I'm saying, but like I made this up. Like I know I just did. I know I just made.
And you're
this.
selling it as truth,
right? I would worry people would I would be more uncomfortable with people overcommitting to my religion. I think that drives me to the cult.
Also, in the back of my mind, I feel like my religion's never going to get past cult status anyway. And if I'm going to be in a cult, I may as well not have to do all the legwork for it.
Cult.
Yeah, you know?
If you can't lead them, join them.
Exactly.
You know what? I've actually changed my mind. I'm going to cult.
Yes.
All right. The Three Cultist podcast has come to a close.
Can I interest you guys in some religion?
No, Ben, let's peddle our cult here. Our Hypotheticals cult over at www.patreon.com/absurdhypotheticals. You can join our hypothetical cult that we have all joined and none of us are leading. So it's kind of just off the rails wild. But if you enjoy that kind of thing and want to put the money in the collection basket, again, you can go to patreon.com and support us there. Your support means the world to us, and you get bonus content every month for being a wonderful cult member.
We're going to rebrand our Patreon.
To Cultreon.
Yes.
All about the culture.
Still workshopping it.
Yeah, I might need a little help there. But either way, it is mandatory that you attend our next cult meeting next week, where we answer the following question. What if your arms got 1 inch longer every month?
It's a weird question, we know.
Do you...
I also said it
Yeah,
wrong.
do you
I'm
want me
gonna
to do that
reset
one
it
again?
more time. What if your arms got 1 inch longer every month?
What did you say the first time?
Inches?
Inches.
Wait, what did you say?
He said 1 inch
I
is
said,
longer.
what if your arm got 1 inch longer?
Oh, okay.
I pluralized the inches.
Uh,
That's what she said.
Jesus. All right. I also feel like that's a bad thing that it implies that it's singular to start.
No, it's pluralized the inches. It's I guess, yeah, it's singular to start. It's a grower, not a
All
shower.
right, well, I'm going to hit the square button.